Processing firewood is the campsite job that keeps sending campers home injured, and this video is about removing the paths that let an ordinary miss reach your leg, foot, hand, or eye. A deep cut can end the trip, need emergency care, and become infected when dirt stays in it. A damaged axe, broken knife, or unusable joint can leave you unable to move safely through cold, rough ground. And a bad fuel arrangement can add a burn to the original mistake. The answer usually is not a more expensive tool or an axe versus saw argument. It is technique used while tired, cold, poorly lit, and badly positioned. I have spent a lifetime tent camping and still choose the ground over bringing the indoors with me. We'll look at the numbers and their limits, trace the blade paths, change the setup, decide when hand tools have had enough, and finish with first aid and evacuation thresholds. The ordinary thing that sends campers home injured is often the firewood work itself. Wilderness first aid guidance puts knife cuts, wounds, and infections near the front of common backcountry problems. The national numbers give us a shape, not a camp-specific count. From 2006 to 2016, emergency departments recorded 18,250 non-fatal injuries involving power saws and axes, including 1,166 axe injuries. Lacerations made up 62.5% of axe injuries and 68.9% of power saw injuries, with about half involving fingers and hands. Those figures combine home, recreational, and outdoor tool use. They cannot tell us exactly how many came from campers processing firewood. The honest claim is narrower. Cutting tools repeatedly injure limbs, and firewood puts them into tired hands at the end of the day. If that sounds alarming, the answer is conditional. Clear mechanics make camping more manageable because each hazard has a visible failure path. A cut can end the trip. Uncontrolled bleeding or serious infection means evacuation. Before the tool moves, check the edge, handle, surface, and space around you. Identify where the blade, broken wood, hands, and legs go if the cut fails. I have camped since boyhood, and a fire does not care whether you are in a hurry to make one. The first path to examine is the axe after it misses, especially when ground and rocks make it worse. The blade does not stop at the wood. A miss or a glancing blow keeps traveling, often at full speed toward a lower leg or foot. Bare soil absorbs the strike unevenly. Rock changes the angle and rebound, both dull or damage the edge, and then you swing harder to get the same bite. The strike itself is not the only problem. When you raise, reposition, or adjust an axe, fingers can slide near the edge. Lose your balance a little, and that is enough for a deep cut. And do not hold wood between your knees or brace it on your thigh. That puts the blade on a direct path into the femoral area. Scout training calls it a triangle of death. Plain name, plain reason. Before the axe moves, clear the blood circle. Keep people and pets beyond your outstretched arm plus the tool. Put the wood on a solid chopping block, kneel, or work low with legs and hands outside the blade path. A miss should end in the block, not your boot. Check the edge, handle, head, and pin first. Stop if the edge is damaged, the handle split, or the head loose. Experience does not remove a bad path. A knife fails differently. Batoning loads the blade until twisting or breaking becomes the danger. With a knife, the load runs through the blade like a wedge. Twist or pry it while the wood has it bound, and the blade can chip or snap, sending fragments outward. A crooked baton strike or a sudden split can also drive the edge into the hand or leg you left beside it. That is a deep cut in the field, where controlling it can be difficult. So before batoning, understand that a failure needs somewhere to go. Put the wood on a stable block. Choose straight-grained wood. Leave knots and cross-grained pieces alone. Set the knife away from your body. Keep hands behind the edge and clear of the striking area. Then strike the spine evenly. If it binds, stop. Do not twist it. Do not pry it, get a smaller piece. People who baton knives often say technique matters more than thickness. That is useful for understanding the failure path, but it comes from user experience, not controlled testing. A thick knife is not a permission slip. I bring a small toolkit to make camp easier, not to make one blade do a splitting tool's work. Use a gas stove and handbrake small sticks. Your exposure is lower. Knife safety and the blood circle still apply. Check that your sheath holds the knife and decide what wood you will refuse to baton. A saw avoids this loading problem, but it brings a different mistake, putting your guiding hand in line with the teeth. A saw avoids the axe's overstrike, but it still has teeth waiting at the end of a bad stroke. If your guiding hand is directly in line with the cut, the blade can clear the wood or kick back, and your fingers can slide into it. Keep that hand to the side of the cut, not behind the piece, and not pushing it past the teeth. Support the wood on something stable and face the blade so you can see where the stroke finishes. Cold fingers, bulky gloves, tired arms, and dusk light make fine movements worse. You misjudge the distance, the wood shifts, and the correction arrives late. I still camp in a tent by choice, and that is familiar territory. The fire needs fuel just when your hands have had enough for the day. I only camp in warm summer weather. That removes much of the cold problem, but not fatigue, poor light, or a badly braced piece. The same cut path applies in July. Wood chips and dust can reach the eyes. Eye injury guidance from metalworking gives a cautious comparison, not a camping risk estimate, because wood is less dense than metal. Eye protection helps when chips are flying. Clear the blood circle before you start, and stop if a child or pet enters it. A saw is not the safe tool. It is the tool with a different failure path. Before any blade moves, the whole low stance setup and the tool itself need checking. The first check is the tool. A sharp edge helps control, but it does not protect you from a bad path. Look at the edge for burrs and damage. Look at the handle for splits. Then check that the head is seated tight and pinned. A loose axe head can leave the handle in mid-swing and become the thing flying through the blood circle. Then build the work around the mistake you might make. Clear people and pets out. Put the wood on a firm block. Work low, kneeling if that gives you room, with both legs clear of where the blade can travel. Keep the blade pointed away from your knees, groin, shoulders, and feet. Keep your hands behind the edge and off the saw line. Gloves and heavy boots can help grip and may lessen some damage. They do not make you cut-proof. A small hatchet does not either. It puts you closer to the wood and closer to the mistake. I've camped long enough to prefer the dull, boring minute, finding a block over swinging harder at a bad setup. Put the work where a miss ends in wood, not in you. And if the tool, light, or body position cannot be made sound, use smaller fuel or wait for daylight, because there is a point where large, wet, frozen, dense, or knotted wood is past camping hand tools altogether. That point comes sooner than people like to admit. A large round, wet wood, frozen wood, or a knot that keeps binding the blade is not a challenge for a small hatchet. It is wood telling you to stop. More force brings twisting, prying, harder swings, and awkward lifting. A power saw does not erase that problem. In the combined axe and saw injury figures, power saws accounted for most of the injuries. My rule is plain. If you cannot break the fuel by hand or work it with a controlled stroke, leave it, especially when you're cold, tired, and failing light, or alone. Use smaller local fuel. Burn smaller limb sections whole where that is allowed, or skip the fire and rely on the clothing and sleep system you brought. I take a small set of tools to make camp easier, not to turn a tent site into a logging operation. A fire is not worth proving a small hatchet can beat a large log. And check the site's current fire ban, wood collection rule, and ring requirement before the trip. Leave no trace is useful guidance, but local rules override it. Unstable fuel can collapse or flare into hands and forearms. Cool a burn with cold, clean water, then elevate it. Heavy logs can strain a joint. If it cannot bear weight or move normally, pad and splint it where it is comfortable. That is when the problem stops being firewood and becomes an evacuation decision. If bleeding cannot be controlled, bone is exposed, or serious infection signs persist, stop the trip and evacuate. Deep cuts can carry dirt and bacteria into tissue, so after direct pressure and elevation control the bleeding, flush with at least half a liter of clean water, remove visible debris carefully, dress it, and watch for redness, swelling, pus, or systemic symptoms. Wood chips can abrade the cornea. Do not rub the eye, protect it, and seek medical help if pain or vision trouble persists. Deep, extensive circumferential burns or burns on the face, groin, armpits, hands, or feet need evacuation. Stop the heat, cool the burn with cold, clean water, and elevate it. If a joint cannot bear weight or move normally, pad and splint it where it is comfortable. Do not hike on it. Wilderness first aid articles give useful lay protocols, but they are not formal medical training. If you rent and borrow a tool, share one, or work beside one, this still applies. Before departure, know where your clean water, dressings, and route to help are. I want my sons to keep camping. Leave with the same working limbs and eyes you arrived with. The next video is the tent setup mistake that fails below freezing and which part gives way first at 3 in the morning. What ordinary tent setup decision works in mild weather and quietly fails below freezing? The next video shows which part gives way first and how to build the setup so that failure does not arrive at 3 in the morning. Check the forecast before you leave, then check the tent before the cold does.